Rwanda and the Rwanda plan has dominated the news agenda all week after yet another court intervention stopping the deportation of migrants to Africa. I'm joined now by Daniel Kawczynski. He is the Tory MP for Shrewsbury and Atcham. He's also Britain's tallest MP. How tall are you, Daniel?
6'9".
Well, why not? It must be. What do people say to you? Is it cloudy up there? Let's speak about, first of all, the Rwanda plan. I mean, it's not going to plan, is it? They can't get anybody deported out there. We've got constant interventions by your colleague Alan Cairns, calls them lefty lawyers. We did have a barrister on the People's Panel who's right-wing and still thinks it's a bad idea. Is the whole thing just doomed to failure? Should they give up on it?
Well, if you could listen to constituents in my constituency of Shrewsbury or any other constituency, when members of Parliament go back to their constituencies on the weekend, the palpable anger of the electorate on this issue is so profound that the government has no option.
But on the issue or the government's mishandling of the issue, or both?
On the issue of wanting the issue resolved, British people, I mean, as you know, I'm an immigrant to this country myself. Yeah. Immigration has contributed a huge amount to the United Kingdom. And I think most British people recognise how important immigration is. What they don't want, and they refuse to tolerate, is criminal gangs making hundreds of millions of dollars every year in illegally transporting people. They want that issue resolved. And it's very easy for members of the House of Lords and others and judges and others to obviously try to make the situation more complex and difficult, but they don't have the electorate to face. And unless we resolve this issue before or demonstrate that we are going the extra mile, even to the Supreme Court, even if it means leaving the European Court, even European Convention of Human Rights.
Do you want to leave the ECHR?
Well, if we're pushed to it. If we're pushed to it.
Wouldn't that mean a huge erosion of our human rights and everything we stand for, and us being a kind of global leader for democracy?
If we're I hope it doesn't come to that, but if we're pushed to it. You know, Australia sends illegal migrants to Nauru. It's working extremely well. The opposition party supports that. It is essential that we find a mechanism to deport people who come here illegally so that these criminal gangs and their business model is broken. I have one issue with Rwanda, though, and I've made this clear to my whips. To my whip and to the Prime Minister. There are allegations from our friends in Congo that Rwanda is supporting the M23 terrorist organisation, which is destabilising northeast Congo. So until...
So should we be...
Well, until I've made it known... I've made it known to the government that if this agreement is going to be signed and entered into with Rwanda, this outstanding issue needs to be resolved, because we cannot get into bed with countries that are being accused of sponsoring terrorist organisations which are involved in
why was Rwanda chosen,
rape and murder of Congolese people.
There was always going to be concerns about Rwanda's genocidal past, question marks over whether it has fully reformed and ended corruption and these sorts of associations. So was this just a harebrained scheme in the first place? Daniel, be honest about it.
Well, I know that the Conservative Party has had quite a long-standing engagement with Rwanda. As an MP for 18 years, I've been cognizant of many Conservative MPs going out there and being involved in development projects and trying to get the country back on track. So a lot of personal relationships have been built up between Conservative politicians and Rwanda. Suella Braverman herself has been out there on a number of occasions. Whether or not Rwanda is ultimately the country that we use, and whether these outstanding issues of them supporting the M23 terrorists can be resolved.
But it's interesting, because I would associate you with being a fierce proponent of this policy, and yet even you are raising question marks about Rwanda. Also, aren't your constituents worried about the cost? It's meant to be costing £169,000 to send each migrant out there.
Well, I think the costs involved, whatever the costs are of sending illegal migrants to a country overseas, whatever they are pale into insignificance compared to the damage to our reputation of not being able to police our own borders.
Let's talk about policing our own borders. Obviously, this is largely happening at the Channel. 45,000 people arriving by barely inflatable dinghy last year. Rishi Sunak's pledged to stop the boats. No sign of that really so far happening. Should the French be doing more? We've just paid them 500 million quid. What are they doing it? What are they spending it on?
Well, I have to say to you, I think the Prime Minister has done a very good job in negotiating a new agreement with Albania.
Yes.
And he is now he's sent a senior civil servant to Italy to start negotiations with Italy
to stop some of the migrants coming through
because
Italy.
the flow is coming.
But what about the French? Come on, let's speak about the French.
Well, before we talk about the French, may I just say that the problem that we have is the European Union, not individual European Union countries, but it's the European Union's ideological fanaticism about the free movement of people that has caused this problem.
Weren't you benefited by the free movement of people when you came here from Poland?
Oh, no, I came in 1978.
Ah, OK.
I came in 1978 when Poland was a communist country and we fled communism. But the free movement of people, this narrative of the European Union of free movement of people, is so profound that all of these illegal migrants, whether they are entering through Greece, Turkey, or whether from Tunisia to Italy, the funnel is towards the United Kingdom. And there are no checks, no border controls.
But why do you think that is? Because we're a soft touch on benefits, that we provide housing or at least accommodation in hotels as soon as people arrive? Or?
Well, there are a lot of migrants towards Germany and Britain, the two big economies in Europe.
Yeah.
So, of course, illegal migrants will inevitably move towards what they perceive to be the strongest economy and an opportunity to improve their lives and the lives of their families.
And you can't blame them for that because you did the same yourself and you've got other family and friends who have come from Poland.
Well, yes, but the difference in us coming here in 1978 is we did it legally.
Yes.
And I think everybody wants and appreciates people to come here legally.
Yeah.
By the way, I want migration to come off the general election top three issues.
Yes.
I want to focus on
why
the...
It's not going to if legal migration is at 600,000, Daniel, is it?
It's not going to unless...
That's just legal, let alone illegal.
And there's an additional problem here. Last year, we lost 550,000 Britons. Our top people are leaving this country because of pernicious levels of taxation. Some of my best friends, from university, have moved to the United Arab Emirates because there's hardly any taxation.
Well, now you're talking like a Tory, but whenever I have a cabinet minister on and say, does tax need to come down, we hear a load of, fluff about, oh, well, inflation this, and we should be going into recession instead, and Treasury orthodoxy. I mean, it must be frustrating for you, and you're in the party. Imagine what GB viewers and listeners think.
Well, it's extremely frustrating, but then again, don't forget, as a result of the pandemic, as a result of the financial crisis, we are now at 100% debt to GDP ratio. So the Chancellor's movement is tight at the moment, but ultimately we've got to get back to that level of low taxation in order to retain our top Brits and disincentivise them from leaving.
One quick question, sorry, because we're tight on time. You spoke to the PM in the week, I know, about the NHS. There was a little image of you which showed a slight height differential between you. Are you confident? You're having a look at that. Oh, my goodness me, you're double his height. Now, are you worried about NHS funding, particularly in your area? Very quick answer, because we had Stephen Barclay on. I don't know if you heard him. But the NHS is a massive problem for you come 2024 if people are still waiting all this time to get treatment. Very quickly.
I highlighted to the Prime Minister that I secured £312 million 6 years ago for modernisation of A&E services in Shrewsbury, and it still hasn't gone ahead. Internal workings of the NHS are not working.
So you're getting the pledge of the money, but you're not actually getting the money.
The management levels in the NHS are extremely poor, and they are not managing resources correctly.
And so did you say to him, give me my money?
No,
Bob Geldof style?
I said, break the gridlock, intervene, and get this over the finishing line.
Daniel Kawczynski, thank you very much indeed for joining me this morning.